Am I on?
Yes.
Brilliance takes time, so that's why we're late. I love making excuses. So there's mine. We got a lot of stuff to go over today. It's all because of all these questions you guys are asking here. And we literally have pages and pages of stuff that you guys have been writing in, and it's very good. That shows that the channel's working. And now it's up to me to answer all these questions. I'm going to start with reading some of these things because I want you guys to know what kind of comments are coming in and how I'm going to answer them. Basically, all the stuff you see scattered around here and don't see scattered around here are going to be things that we're going to be covering today based on these comments. Let's see. Very insightful, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. How to tweak color temperature. Let's just get to the ones that that actually inform something. Well, here's one. Steve, if you ever visit Edinburgh, that's how you know if you've ever been there. You don't call it Edinburgh. It's Edinborough. I have a treat for you. Lady Agnew, the Sargent painting is in a permanent collection at the National Gallery. So that's kind of nice to hear that, if I'm ever back there in Edinburgh. Actually, I was in Edinburgh for one night at one of those overnight sleeping places where you wake up and you get breakfast. And I remember a couple things. One, they wanted my down payment right away before I could sleep there that night. And two, I was coming back from seeing the Loch Ness Monster. That's right, I was on my own looking for the Loch Ness Monster back in the early 80s. Yeah, mid 80s was it? Yeah, I actually flew from London to, I don't remember the airport I came into, but I was in the town of Inverness, which you monster hunters know is right directly across from the loch. And it was the greatest experience. I'll tell you about that sometime when I can show you some pictures along with it. Here's one that's very sympathetic here. I wish I could participate in the crowdfunding, but I don't have the money right now. But I'm glad you're keeping this book right here, the How to Draw book, in spiral binding. More books should be made that way. That's fine. If you can't afford anything, don't contribute. You know what you can afford and what you can't, and that's that. That kind of ends that right there. You know what your finances are. By the way, what are the finances for how we're doing on this this How to Draw book here?
Currently, we have a little over 18,000.
Which is very good from where we started. Mm-hmm. And what is our end goal for that?
40,000.
40,000? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no pressure there for you guys.
Okay.
Dwayne Muth wrote in just excellent advice. Yeah. Let's get into some real critical ones here. This guy says he's always struggled with understanding the figure and other tips online. Awesome video when you talk about Kirby starting from a drawing from anywhere. Makes me think about the late Kim Jong-gi. I didn't know the guy died. This is a comment from a concerned fan. I just want to say something. It's so bloody insane that neither Marvel nor DC had you art direct any of their animated projects. It's tiresome to see how they always go for ilk. That's more concerned with reinventing the wheel than making a stellar-looking show movie that respects source material and respects the greats that it came from. That, believe me, I have as much concern for those guys and what they do than the Man on the Moon. Here's one I've heard. I've actually heard this sentiment from way back in the early 80s in art school. Someone asked a master sculptor, "Sir, you're almost 90. Are you ever going to retire?" And the guy says, "No, I think I'm finally starting to get better at this." This relates to our teacher. The art teacher says, or rather the student says, if it would have been explained like this, I would have accepted the concept. Some comments on Paul Gulacy, one of my favorites from the Master of Kung Fu days. Sort of see he has retired from doing shows anymore. Well, I'm more or less the same. You know, remember we started this business in the Gulacy started this business in 1971, I think, and I started this business in 1981, and that's a lot of shows we've been doing. And our favorite shows they tended to be in the early days when things were really new and exciting. They haven't been new and exciting for a long time. The new breed of artists and writers took over, and the whole atmosphere of the business has changed so much, and it's not nearly as fun as it used to be. So, like what a lot of guys tell you, at certain times in their lives, something stops becoming fun. So, if it does, we stop doing it. One guy says, it's insane to watch you work on these streams. They've always been levels above anything I've seen. For teaching me in these ways, thank you. Well, the only way I could confirm that is there's a lot of amateur artists out there. At the same time, there's some insanely good artists out there. That would be under the category, generally it's under the category of fine artists, so-called. There's a guy in Spain that had sent me a bunch of Nexus sample pages. I need to get back to him, so don't worry, I will. Moving along here. Okay, some guy wrote in, this is a great little lesson. What is he talking about? Well, very interesting to see the different versions. He's talking about the Sargent demo where I showed him 3 completely finished paintings by Sargent. Sargent was trying to work out little things, but rather than doing what most people of sanity would do, just quick studies, he did complete studies. They were finished paintings. He says sometimes poses, color temperature, or focus is tweaked, but none are necessarily wrong, but the feeling changes. Very good. And guy writes back and says, I agree, those are like quite popular videos online now. Never draw like this, or so like this, or you still drawing like that. And then they cannot show a better alternative. Kind of get that. Oh. We're done with that. Well, okay, here's a letter from a pro here, Karl Kessel. Karl Kessel inked my my series, World's Finest. Very good inker. Karl writes in and says, a chapter about closed drapery would be invaluable. The only place I know where to find info on that is the Jack Ham's book. Would be wonderful to have a little more up-to-date reference on this, and that's going to be something we're going to be talking about today. A guy follows up with clothes, or even something like hair would be really nice. Not too many how to draw books that include stuff like that. That's another thing we're going to be going over today is hair, okay? So stick around for that. I think a chapter in hands would be superb. Surely it would. Some guy wants to get into the minutia of body types, including wrinkles. I think you need to find another guy to help you out with that than me. Some guy's asking for examples of very young, very old, overweight, underweight, and all young, middle-aged people in good shape. Well, I think we got the last part covered there. Personally, I don't think many people talk about enough is how muscles connect to the bone and how they deform when twisted, stretched, or flexed. Well, we got the master of that coming up, so hang in there when we go over that. I got just the guy for that, and it's not me. I wish more guys gave tangible art exercises. Like, if you're teaching me how to draw the rib cage, tell me how I can draw that in my art. Well, that's under the last guy's advice I'm going to be showing you here. Another is an anatomy book that tends to separate the bones and muscles in two different chapters without showing how they interact. Okay, well that's coming up too under the same guy. Some of these guys are a little vague to me right here, but that's probably just me. I always miss a how to study book. That's really not that hard as you think, guy. First of all, this book looks amazing. He's referring to the how to draw book here. I am a beginner in study with multiple books. Something that got my attention is that instructions about drawing facial features in perspective that are often flat, like for lips. Draw an angled line, you see less of it on the other side. I think quickly mentioning foreshortening and how a curve behaves in perspective would be much more solid and educational, that you can actually apply knowledge to multiple angles. Do we have my little thing of bread over there, Super? Do you see any loaf of bread over there by any chance? No, it wouldn't be in there. I think I put my bread downstairs. Can you go grab that, Mr. Producer? Go downstairs. Actual loaf of bread, yeah. For those of you who have read the Loomis book, I think it's pretty obvious what we're going to be doing, but to other people it might be a surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I'm trying to learn drawing, okay? Just a couple questions. Is there anything specific to be practicing first with art? And if so, would it be better to keep drawing the same type of thing over and over until it looks good, or draw different things to stimulate different art styles and how to draw a bunch of things? When Steve talks about painting, it reminds me of Francis Ford Coppola talking about filmmaking. Well, I just saw a recent thing about Francis Ford talking about filmmaking, and he said he was actually committed to a mental institution after trying to get through Apocalypse Now, which fits. Prime example of painters not doing the things in order. This guy starts painting before he gets dressed. I assume he's talking about me. I at least get my underwear on. Frazetta's paintings of his Molly Hatchet albums and of his woman are extraordinary. Obvious. When I was a kid, I was very fascinated when I saw the newspaper strip Rip Kirby. Later I learned it was his vintage line that looked so good. Yeah, okay, well, here, let's start off here with the... this is a special loaf of bread imported from France. The best bread makers in the world. We shall unveil the bread. This is the first time it's ever been used. We thank the bread makers for exclusively sending this to us. Roundness of the mouth. This bread, people, are going to show you exactly the roundness of the mouth, okay? So, you see, it's flat, right? Nothing going on there. And here's the secret formula right here. Does that look flat to you? That's what bread looks from the top. Sorry, Francais. That's what it looks like. It's round. So when you draw teeth, where's my sketchbook? There's my sketchbook. When we draw from the mouth, here's something you're not thinking about when you're drawing the mouth. Remember how I say that you, are we on this camera right here or what? That one? How's that? Can you see it right now? Okay, we are switching cameras, folks. You ready? Okay, this is the standard shot of the mouth, right? You do a little dip thing there, and you do this, and but the main line is this. This is the main line, and the reason that's the main line is because that aligns with the teeth. And when you draw the mouth over that, this is what you're looking at. you have to have a baseline. You have to have a constant where you know the mouth always is going to start as. Now, when you let's go back to the teeth here. Okay, so here's the teeth once again. Your mouth is closed. Okay. When you were smiling, the teeth go all, your teeth are showing, okay? Love those bumps on the other side. Drives me nuts. Get out of my way, you damn bumps. So there's your teeth, and there's your smile. These are things that I figured out on my own, okay? Not to be outdone. And there's a point behind this, believe me. So there's the bottom teeth dropping down. Just dropping down like they're supposed to. Teeth. This is going to be a shouting motion here, okay? Well, let's make it less of a shouting motion here, okay? We're going to bring the bottom teeth up a little bit here. So like that. So here's the top teeth. Here's the dark area inside the mouth. And here's the mouth. Here's the top lip right there. There's the top or the bottom area of the mouth. Can you guys see that okay? But you are always, there's the teeth, blah, blah. If you want bottom teeth in there, you know, you've got to bring this lip down a little bit, okay? But that's what you're dealing with. But remember, this view that is common to all of us when we're doing smiles, it looks like this from the top. If you're looking into it from the top, say the guy's head is like this. This is the way it looks right here. So when you're doing, looking up into the teeth right here, they look like this. Bumpity, 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 bumpity. There's your nose. Good thing we have a colored pencil hanging around here. See, that's your big mouth right there. When you're looking at a down view, you just reverse it. It's the same thing. Here's the nose. The nose is overlapping the mouth, and here come the smile lines pushing it up. These things grab the sides of the mouth, and they push them that way. They pull them. And how do I know this? Well, let's take a wild guess at how Steve Rude knows his stuff right here. Because if you don't know, I'll be explaining this in a second here, okay? So some teeth have to be shown here because you want to indicate that there is a smile going on. There's going to be a shadow area on that. There's going to be some white areas in here. The teeth have to be showing here. A couple highlights here and there. Okay, so there's my... Is that anatomy? Okay, so let's call it an anatomy lesson. Another thing is if you're just doing kind of a mild smile, you don't stretch it that far like this, where your side muscles are pulling it that far. This is just a mild smile. Like when your friends tell a joke and you try to act like it's funny, but it's really not. Okay, it's still pulling. It's still pulling this way, but it's not a big hearty har har. It's just a, yeah, whatever. You think you're funny, huh? Okay. The corners here tend to have a little dark because there's when things go this far out and they go into the depth of the mouth. See, the teeth actually go far like this. So the lips only go this far when they're being stretched, okay? So there's going to be a little pocket down there where it's going to be dark. That's where that dark comes from. How do I know these things? Well, because I study. And if you don't have books available to study from, what are you going to do? And that's going to be the subject of a lot of stuff that's going on the live stream today. Interestingly, there is a time when there were no books. Now let's go back to the 1850s, say. The way you learned things, because there weren't really any books, and if there were, they were very sparse. You would do what everyone did back then and are still doing today, which is finding a good teacher. And teachers, I'm going to take a guess, tended to be very good back then. Because, and how do I know this? How does Steve Rude know this? Well, because the greatest artists that we study today and revere today all came from that time period. And there are artists today that are incredibly good. I mean, they're just unbelievable. But the artists that I revere, in my fellow illustrators and fellow fine artists revere, all came from that time period. And even with all the books that are out today, all of the hundreds of them, I find people still asking the same questions about how to do this, how to learn that, how to draw that. Now you got to wonder where these questions are coming from with the availability of all these books. Someone will write in and say, how do I do hair? How do I draw feet? How do I learn to make more dynamic poses? Well, you're asking these questions from a lack of resource. You're asking these questions from a lack of personal drive. People with personal drive will always find the answers to these questions because you want them so badly that you refuse to not find them. If I want to find a book or do research on folds, I've got a flat file. Not a flat file, just a file on folds. These are shots that I've taken off the camera in my backyard about folds. I had to do a commission one time where some pair of shorts and a shirt was being fluttered about like that. Well, I went in the backyard and took some shots. Does that look hard? Did it take a lot of brains to do that? If I can do it, you can do it. Simple solution. Capes. There's me posing with a cape. You want to find out what the folds look like with capes? That's what I did. This cape came to me by way of good friend Alex Ross. He actually sent me a Superman cape to work from. It was very nice of him. And there's a bunch of more shots in here that we randomly just shot just to see if we could find all the variations that happen. And from there, I can extrapolate how I want the folds to look in my pictures. These are all cut out from magazines right here. They tell me a lot about how folds work, especially with suit jackets and how they fold up on this part right here in the shoulder areas. On the back of this is more stuff. Look at these beautiful sense of folds there. This is rhythm and action right here. This right here is spectacular. this monk's outfit right here. These kind of folds with a leg, these kind of folds with a certain kind of material. Here's another one that I really like right here. Just a guy standing there with a suit jacket on. This one right here is incredible. There's very complex folds here. This one has a lot of folds, which I would edit. They always mention this in my earliest books about learning about folds. You don't need every fold, because sometimes you just get clutter if you put in every little fold. And if you were to tell this guy to relax and try it again, maybe half these folds would disappear. So by way of that, you don't have to copy the photograph. You just copy the concept. These are interesting how these folds work. He's got both arms up, and they're going in this weird direction right here. So taking some of these folds right here, I am going to be doing some demos on these folds. I'm going to put these away right here. Here's one that dropped out of sight. This is a blanket that fell on the ground here. And I love the way it looks, so I just took a picture of it. And I've done many studies of this right here, sometimes in color with watercolor, and sometimes just with colored pencil and black pencil. I have a reverse view on this side. So you're asking me how to learn folds? People, what's holding you back? You do have a brain, and you use that human brain to solve problems. Half of art is about solving problems, and the problems come in two categories. They're either hard or they're easy. But if you think hard enough, every problem that's hard is going to become easy once you solve it. But you have to learn to solve it. And that's what every artist goes through. There's not a guy alive that if you were to talk to them would give you a different answer on that. So we're going to look at the folds. I'm going to bring this stuff up right here and show you how I would draw this guy right here. And once I get done with this guy, we're going to move on to a different kind of fold that I thought was very, very difficult to do. I got a little head start because I was getting carried away because I was having too much fun, forgive me. After this is going to be hair, so stick around for that. But before we engage in this, okay. So look, we're not just going to copy these things. We're going to do something first that is going to make you understand more than what most people would do when they just show off and copy stuff. We are going to draw the figure beneath this thing that explains how this figure is working the way it is. So wish me luck, and I'll see you on the flip side here. All the basic shapes you've seen before. It's no different than any other basic shape drawing you've seen before. They're in all the books. They're universally done by every artist under the sun. So you're asking me questions that you could answer by yourself in no time flat if you just thought about stuff. Do not look for an artistic maid to wet nurse you. Do not look for a cosmic butler to feed you this stuff. It's up to you to do it, and that's the way it's meant to be. It's meant to be hard, because hard is fun. You can't get rewards out of something unless it's hard. So there's the body underneath. That's going to help us really to figure this out. So the first fold I'm going to see is I'm going to see some wrinkles this way, which I don't see a whole lot of, but I know they're going to be there. And this one is flowing off the forearm here. And there's going to be this sense of there's going to be this bizarre sense of what's going to come out. Now, is this fold going to come out every single time? What do you think I'm going to say? The answer is I doubt it. There's going to be all these variations. So that's another reason to pick and choose what kind of folds you think belong in here, and those that don't. One time a friend of mine said, look, you need to learn lighting, Steve, because once you draw it a few times, you know how it works. Well, I never found that to be true. I think I thought of that a little different than this guy did. To me, lighting, I think the way I would describe it is, because lighting is so unique from thing to thing, I would always try to find the right kind of lighting in my files. And if I couldn't find that, then I would go and shoot something in the mirror. That would give me a really good idea of what I liked. Now here is what you call a cast shadow fold right here. And there are folds and folds and folds, and this goes way down to the ground. And it flows this way. So there's this, you see there's this flow, there's this flowing thing going on this way. There's a bit of a lip that goes up like this. Okay. And it lands somewhere down here. And this is interesting here. So we got these bumps according to the folds that go on there. And they're all going to be in shadow because these forms are blocking the sun. I'm just going to kind of blow those in because I feel like it, actually. And we got some more of the same kind of flowing things going on there. These are all worth studying. To me, this is fun. You've got this beautiful reference here for starters. And because folds have a complete nature of their own, they're worth studying. Now, a lot of guys look at folds as they go into the book and they see these 7 kinds of folds. Well, let me tell you something, guys, and might especially be helpful to Karl. I've studied those 7 kind of folds, and you know what I got out of them? Jack spit. Because that became math to me. And I don't understand math. My personal mind is not something that understands math. So I dropped that whole bunch of crap, and I just started looking at folds and logically breaking down, when you go like this, they're going to be that diaper fold crap. When I go like this, what am I going to get for folds? They're going to come out like this. If I go like this, they're going to radiate from here. Mathematically, I can't figure that out. But visually, I can. That makes sense to me. The other stuff doesn't. So maybe that's why you're getting screwed up. I don't know. We all have these situations here to figure out. But the first thing you got to do is figure out how your brain works. And if it doesn't work the way these guys are showing you in the books, well, you write your own book. I don't believe in the folds that the Milton Caniff kind of folds, even though they work just fine. But they're very, you know what I mean? They're kind of just formula folds. I don't. My conscience doesn't really feel comfortable doing it like that, so I don't. Oh yeah, sorry, super. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Here, why don't we just take our our pastels here and just kind of block that in to make it look a lot prettier than it really is. We're going to grab our orange, and hopefully that doesn't completely obscure the black underneath, if not obliterate the whole thing. So I'll kind of give it a light touch. Mr. Producer says your shoulder's in the way. Well, I think that's a problem with my life. My shoulders have always been in the way. I should have spray fixed it, huh? Wouldn't that have been smart? Well, there you go. I'm not smart. Somebody wrote in about pastels and said they couldn't make them work. And well, essentially my reply to that is boo goddamn who. It's not meant to be easy, it's meant to be hard. And it's up to you, depending on how bad you want something, to figure it out. Stay tuned, there's more to come. Art is a situation where you must understand that no one's going to hold your hand. You'll be lucky if you get a couple good teachers in your life. You'll be lucky if you find one good teacher in your life. I still teach, but I charge so much to not attract the riffraff or people that aren't serious. You'll never find a way in. But you can still inquire about that. I teach for a weekend. It's a huge amount of money because I don't really want to do it. But you can get in if you're serious enough. So you can see what I did right there. Now I want to keep going, see? That is the dude's dilemma right there. He just wants to keep going. And so it goes, and so it goes. And we just keep going. And that's, you know you're dealing with an artist when you don't have to tell them to draw. They just do it. So another reminder that, people always ask this question, are artists born? All this crap, this philosophical nonsense about how do you know who's an artist? Are they born? Are they, are they developed? Who cares? You're either doing it or you're not doing it. And even if you make it to the pros, if you're not where you want to be, it's a really good idea to look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're not where you are. Because the mirror is the only place where you're going to find your answer. Once again, the way it should be. Let's take Mr. Monk here and remove him from the premises. And we're going to try another one here. See, this is an extra long one right here. That's why we had so much prep time. We're going to send Mr. Monk off to meditate here. There you go, Mr. Producer. And we're going to look at the next one here on the table. And he is going to be a really tough one here, of course. The dude relishes tough ones. As I say for you, I say to me. You see this one right here? This is another one that we're going to do in black and white. Because it's really hard. We're going to do that one again in charcoal. All this stuff around the dude boat is simply overwhelming. Yes, Mr. Producer, you were going to say something here? Hmm? Oh, okay. So let's try this one in this little chunky piece of stuff here. Let's do it like this, okay? So look at this picture. You've obviously got it up there on your screen so you can see it full size over there. Let's take this. When you guys look at this, how complex does it look? Well, the first thing you do is you don't worry about all this little in and out nonsense, okay? That's how I'm going to start out, like that. You see that? It's very simple. And I've been trained to do that. I've been to enough schools. And the reason I've sought out the particular schools that I've been to is because as often as I've tried, as hard as I've worked, my knowledge level was not keeping up with the work I was doing to overcome these problems. So I said, like any smart guy, I better learn how to overcome this stuff. Or else I'll never be what I could be. And to a guy like me, that was intolerable. So I was willing to move anywhere and do anything to not see that happen to me. Because this was my life, and it was my self of what I am. And to let other people get better because they were more driven than me was another intolerable thing. And just being built like that did not allow me to give up. We're getting a lot of stupid bumps over there in the back. I don't know why. By the way, this is more newsprint here. Any letters from the Soviet Republic of China or Iceland at all, Mr. Producer? Well, this is simply deplorable here. But I know you guys are out there. I know you're listening. Now, if we want, how come the letters come pouring in after I've done all this work here? If you want to go like this and be Mr. Smooth, okay, well, everyone wants to be Mr. Smooth. That's the easy part right here. Now, if you want to be Mr. Cool, you don't have to smooth those things in. What's next? Now, we're looking at this big mess right here, okay? How are we going to deal with a mess? Now, remember, we don't have to do this stuff exact. You see that shape that I put in there? That's a really pretty teardrop kind of shape. Now, if you wanted to make shapes like this, you know, you could do that. I don't seem to be able to make those right now, but it is possible just to block them in like that. What I'm doing right now is simply outlining them. Folds are fascinating things. By nature of what they are, they produce these rhythmic, beautiful flowing things. That to me, they're just plain fun to draw. And maybe that's what the problem is for some people. They look at them and they say, I don't want to draw that. Well, hell, understandable. No one has to keep doing this stuff. No one has to continue trying to do things that are painful to them. It's not a law. See this one, these ones right here are very weak. In other words, to the side, they're just going like this. The real ones that have a dark undertone are like that, see? These are barely like that. So that's what we're looking at fold-wise here. I'm looking at this picture and I don't particularly think it's very graceful, but you know how that goes. Another good thing we learned from one of the comments that came in from the fans is we have the reference available for you guys to look at and practice from yourself. So whatever that does for you, that might help you in any way that it might, well, there it is. It was a great idea, and we listened to him and we implemented it. You can see how dark this charcoal is, huh? This is like a 6, whatever the hell, a really dark kind of thing. So there's my version of this very complex thing right here. From here, there would be a lot of, I think I would make these very dark right here. Very dark, very uniform. Very, very simple. I wouldn't do a lot of variation of grays. I would just block them in like this. This is practice. This is the way I practice things. Now we have a lot of other really good things coming up here. So we're going to move that out of the way. And we are going to wipe our hands here and get ready for the next piece. And the next piece is going to be, you might want to move that out of the way, Mr. Producer. Because what we have coming up here is going to be extra bonus material. And the extra bonus material, well, first, before we show you that, before we show you the demo, you guys are asking about hair. Well, first let me admit that I've never gotten hair down. Hair is one of those things for me that is often that I've looked at it, often that I've studied it. I have never felt like it's ever really clicked in my head. Do I let it defeat me? No. Do I let it piss me off? Yes. But here's some of the things from my files, just a minuscule thing from my files that I've picked out to show you some of the things I've done here to show you what I've accumulated to help me understand hair. And a lot of these are from the master hair artists like Alex Raymond and Hal Foster and Al Williamson, the guy that I knew well and loved visiting Al. I asked Al about hair, and Al's answer would always be the same. I don't know how to draw hair. So as far as taking a class from Al, I kind of learned to pass on that. But he was still an expert at it. Here we go. Here's one of my many hair folders right here. All of it is very helpful. Next page. Just a bunch of cool stuff. Turn the page. More hair, more this, more that. This is kind of cool right here because I show the photo in the utter simplicity of how it would be if there were only the barest of outlines to show you. Like say if this was the ultimate animated drawing where people were too lazy to put any hair strands in, that's the way it would look. This is all Alex Raymond stuff. This is, that's Hal Foster right there. And on the back here is almost all Hal Foster stuff. I mean, Alex Draymond. Amazing stuff. There's Alex Draymond copying the photo right there. And we've got some more Hal Foster, more Alex Draymond, and other sources. So it's there for me to practice before I start inking my own characters with their hair. So it's there as a warm-up. It's there to get myself mentally acquainted with what I'm trying to do. And then I've got things like this right here. Again, this is one of literal hundreds that I've got of hair. These are from master artists that have done hair in the event that I'm probably going to be painting them, illustrating them with paint and color. And I pasted these all on one sheet. Again, all from master artists, particularly those of Gillette Elvgren. So you can see these guys are, well, you don't kid around with these guys here. And to me, they're there to learn from. But no, in my mind, hair is like math to me. And I do not have a math brain. It simply doesn't exist. Under a microscope, you would be hard-pressed to find anything there. It would probably be, my math brain would probably be the size of an atom. Did I show this one yet? Okay, I did. This is kind of cool. This is from the top of a guy's head. He's losing his hair, but the hair that is there is in very interesting patterns to me. So I thought that was very cool. And when I think something's cool, it goes into the hair file. Another thing that's really cool is to see how the reference that Elvgren would use would be translated into his painting version. Because it's going to be different. He's going to translate it into his personal stylization of how to do hair. Okay, are we exhausted yet? Okay, well, if you are, too bad. We're going to keep going here for posterity's sake.
We're almost an hour in.
Well, that figures. An hour in. Could I have one of those fizzes from the fridge, Mr. Producer? Yeah, that's fine. We're definitely going to. Guys always want things thrown to you. Okay, so we're in for it. Now we're in for that sparkling drop of power-giving effervescence. Normally that explodes, but I think this is the non-exploding model here. Okay. All right. You ready for another hair demo here? Yes, of course you are. Let's get some more of these boards up here so we can... Oh, actually, you know what? We need even a bigger board. How to do hair by the dude. So as you can see from your handy monitor there, I've blocked in this stuff. And this is gonna be the Strew method that I've employed. Strew, as you know, is the greatest living artist. And just recently having made a pilgrimage to the Strew abode to see how my buddy's doing. He's hanging in there. I got to tell you, the thing, when I went to see him, the first thing his wife Dylan did was, and you know how happy this made me. She held out a handful of brushes, and they were all Strew's brushes, and it was like 3 or 4 of them, and I have them in a little case over there. So I got some pencils from Jack Kirby, and some brushes from Strew. And I said, hey, these are like talismans to me. Couldn't be happier about that. I never meant for Zeta, but I met my share. Did I get brushes from Harry? No, but I got a demo from him. He gave me that. I don't think I got one of his brushes though. Didn't occur to me at the time to simply ask for such a thing. But I got smart as I aged. Kind of the purpose of aging, isn't it? So I'm using, the Prismacolor stuff here. It's I'm not being too hard-edged with it. If you're confused about something, there's almost a foolproof way of allowing that to transmorgify itself. I better look that one up. And that is to just kind of get a sense of just kind of blocking things out without committing yourself too much. And remember, this is a hair blocking, not a head study here. But you know how we are. We get a little carried away. No charge. What's good for one side is good for the other side. This is art related, but here's a boxer that I follow, and he's a guy that everyone admires. For one, he's got none of those disgusting tattoos on him. He doesn't swear. He doesn't drink. He's just a total gentleman. And part of the reason for that is because of his cultural upbringing. He's from Japan. And any fan of this guy knows who I'm going to talk about. His name is Nahoya Inoue. I heard the cheers? Okay, good. We got some fans out there. This guy is really something. Not just because of his astounding character, but because of the way he's been brought up. And the way he's been brought up has a lot to do with the way he's outdistanced everybody in his weight class that's around. And he's the best for reasons that are hard to explain, but there's, as with artists, and why some people are the very best. Because you get to a point, and it's all personal taste, but within that category, these guys are all the best. It's just a matter of personal choice at that point. But Nahoya is the ultimate guy, and I love this guy because he's so cultured, and his dad is his trainer, and he's just this wonderful guy who you want to win because he wants to win for all the right reasons. He's not a dick. He doesn't try to put down other players. The one time someone tried to insult his dad, which is a very bad thing to do in the Japanese culture, he ended up taking this guy apart. Boo-hoo. But he's, other than, now compare this to art right here, okay? It's not just that he's a guy who made the top boxing stratosphere. It's much more than that. If there's a lot of artists that are drawing comics that are very good, let's assume they're pros because they made the pro ranks in that they are actually drawing comics. Now I look at that as okay, now you're getting paid for what you've done, but how good are you really? Just because you're getting paychecks within the ranks of good artists, how good are you compared to them? That's the way I rate people. And my rating system is pretty merciless. So let's do the hair, okay? Again, this is the true method here of doing things. First thing I'm going to do is just put in an average. I'm going to kind of glaze it over with an average tone right here. See, that's how much this penetrates the color. It doesn't, it's not opaque, which everyone knows. And so as we go over the nose, let's put that the blue in there. The mascara in this girl is simply outrageous. Obviously a professional makeup job here. I suppose as the years advance, I'll be looking into that myself. All right, so here comes, see if we can pull this off right here. Really, the only other color that's going to come in here is the really light colors. And as long as this color can stick to the surface here, this is really going to really make the thing pop. This is also the color I'm going to use with the highlights on the face here. One thing I'm not going to be concerned with right now is, boy, they have made her up like crazy. There's not a single, she's almost a mannequin. But I'm sure to her and people that want to hire her, that's a good thing. Okay, so how do the patterns work of this hair? That's what I'm looking for right now. Because all hair has a pattern to it. It doesn't just go like this. It goes with things like this and things like this. That's what they taught me in school about hair. That is pretty self-evident. Anyone who studies hair would know that anyway. And that's kind of what I'm going for this hair right here. Now there's another subtle one here that I'm going to try to put in. That's kind of a dark version of the yellow ochre stuff here. And I don't know if I have a color that's a darker yellow ochre, but we will look, because by God, we are determined, aren't we? We are so determined that nothing will stop us. So what have we learned so far today? We've learned about our personal integrity as far as what will stop us. What out there will make us stop and just say this is too much. It's not a sin to give up. There's nothing that says you have to keep going just because it's something you think you should get. There's not a single rule that will ever say that. But if it is intolerable to you, you'll just have to find a way to make it work somehow. If you don't have a choice, then you don't have a choice. You'll do what you have to. I had a girlfriend that got really mad at me for being better than her, and her criteria for me being better than her was that I always worked for something and she didn't. Okay, well that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. A person that never drew in her life was mad at me for drawing all the time. So that's the kind of nutty things you get from people that are kind of off their rocker. You get a lot of that kind of crap from people. And they're actually kind of, you know, you can't do anything with a person that thinks like a lunatic. Lunatic thinking is kind of like this. Everything is a. I'm excused because I don't make any sense, and I can say anything I want, and you have to defend it. No. You're crazy because you can't account for why you're crazy, and I've got to explain to the world why you're crazy. I don't think so. Well, we got the whites of the eyes there. I hope that's going to help. We just can't help putting in the whites of the eyes. All right, there's our little thing. Now there's always some places to put in some whites, and those are going to go in here right now. So how are you guys doing out there, by the way? How are your lives going? Who practices and who is under that category that I keep bringing up that cannot stand to give up on something? Because I am precisely talking to somebody out there that is exactly that category right now. And who are the people that I'm exactly addressing that just aren't cut out for a life like this? And it's not a big deal. If you're like that, don't jump off a bridge. I think these are occasions where life is showing you another path. It doesn't show you the path right away. It doesn't work like that. It only feels awful at the time it's taking place. Okay, let's make this a little lighter right here. I need this to blend in a little bit more. A word on colored pencil that I've been pissing around with this stuff for a long time. Colored pencil, as most of you know, and I didn't for the longest time because I didn't care about materials. Oh, and if you want to soften this kind of stuff, I just go like that. But often you got to go back in and, you know, all that kind of stuff because you just kind of wiped a lot of it off. Where was I, Mr. Producer?
No, you're talking about colored pencils.
Oh, colored pencils are made of, I mean, what are they made of? Finding out what something's made of is a big deal. They're made of wax. So, and again, this is something that I keep bringing up that frustrates the hell out of me because no one else ever brings it up. It drives me nuts. When you're working on wax, there's only so many layers you can put over this stuff before the wax builds up. And what happens when you keep working wax over wax? You get to the point where nothing sticks anymore. Who brings that up when I'm watching this crap on YouTube about colored pencils? Well, how about zero? That more than it makes me feel justified in having this channel of my own here. Okay, that's it for the demo stuff. Let's move this out of the way. And raise your hands if you're actually hanging in there with me, because this is a long one here. One guy wanted to learn about the twisting and turning, and I promised to show you about that. Well, here's the guy. You ready? Da, 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 da. George Bridgeman. Okay, he's the guy. And this is what he's all about. He connects these really large, bulky forms with a twist. And he shows exactly how things that are big and bulky connect together with all this muscular twisting stuff. Okay, so again, we're going to have this online here, so you guys don't have to suffer needlessly. Here's some dude probably from the art center here, messing around with one of Bridgeman's thousands of drawings he did on these freaking large newsprint pads. Because this is not Bridgeman, this is just some guy right here. He's probably got a mini spy cam in his arm there. But this is what Bridgeman did all the time. He drew constantly for his students, one of which was Norman Rockwell. And as far as the way he taught, one of the ways he taught was he would always talk about the other side, and this is something I brought up with mouths, lips. There's different views of something. Now, just because you've always drawn it with that view, just means you've drawn it with that view. It doesn't mean that the mouth isn't like this or like that. It's just as legitimate from this angle right here. You just haven't drawn it from that angle. If all you did was draw mouths from this angle, that's the view you would know it for and be most practiced with. But this is the one we do it from all the time. What does that mean? Nothing. It just means this is the one we draw it from most of the time. This one is uncommon. This one is uncommon. But it's no less legitimate. And that's what George Bridgeman was all about. When he would talk about the front of the face, he would say, remember, there's the back of the head. And he would pound on his drawing board to reinforce man all the time. Don't forget the back of the head. Poor Norman, what he had to put up with. But he did hundreds of these things. And when he really got into it, he would take a piece of chalk at the end of here, I'll grab it right here. Because I just have everything ready here at a moment's grasp. He would take a piece of chalk and put it at the end of a stick like this. And he would draw from this distance. Can you believe that? He would draw these masterpieces in charcoal with a little piece at the end of a stick like this to show you how to draw these things. And I think he was doing that for the same reason that oil painters have long brushes, to show you, to draw it from a distance, to see it in perspective a little bit better. So he wouldn't be drawing up close, he would be drawing it from a ways away to see exactly the proportions, and if they were dead on rather than drawing them close, where it's a little hard to judge proportions. So there's good old George right there. Those are his drawings. These are the way he constructed things. And this is what he did. That was George Bridgeman, and everything he did, he taught constructive anatomy like no one else. Now, I don't happen to be a fan of George Bridgeman, but that doesn't mean dick. There's a lot of guys that were hugely influenced by him. So a guy that draws like that all the time, here is my equivalent right here. This is what I do all the time on newsprint pad in charcoal. I just do these things endlessly. This is my way of learning the equivalent of what George did all the time as he taught, except I don't teach. I just do these things for the fun of it. These are my ways of warming up. I see something I like and I copy it. Now, a lot of guys are asking about, well, Rude, you copy these things all the time. Let me see some of your original works. Well, I believe the next thing I'm going to do is show you some original works. What's synchronicity? Here's the one I'm going to show you first. That's not quite done yet, but this is an original piece right here, done on an illustration board. It is paint, obviously, watercolor, opaque paint, some of it in color pencil. This is my strew technique. It's almost done except for the hands and the communicator. But other than that, that's an original work. And I got it from two different sources. I got it from this photo and this photo. Oh, and there's another headshot that I took. I blew it up into my Xerox machine here, and I used transfer paper to get the exact proportions down. Then I had a very good likeness. Otherwise, it would have been tough. So I got the head down pretty well, drew it in pretty tightly, and then the rest of it I used this one right here to get the rest of it down. I just kind of freehanded that. So there you go. That's how I did it in original illustration. I wasn't demoed, but that's how it turned out. Here's another one right here that has a very interesting story behind it. As we move past an hour here, this is a TV guide cover by a guy named Paul Davis back in 1972. The artist Paul was 34 years old at the time, and this is what he did for a TV guide cover. Kung Fu, as many of you know, was very, very popular at the time. You guys that never were too young to know the show, forget you guys. But us cool guys that were very much in our teens or whatever, in our 20s that saw this show, that's the audience I'm talking to right now. Now I saw this cover and I thought, it's very well done. There probably were conditions to get it done very, very fast. He did a very good job, but I thought, it's too round. It's got too much of a roundness to it. And the guys that taught me to go for sharp planes, to get some angularity and give it some sharpness to contrast the round. So just for the sheer hell of it, I came up with this right here. And that is my original illustration based on this exact same idea. And I got to tell you, I had a blast doing this right here. This is done in opaque watercolor and colored pencil. There's the colored pencil stuff up there, and the face has got a lot of rendering with that. But a lot of paint is put on first, and the colored pencil is put on over that. Pretty cool, huh? A lot of little things added to it. So this would have been my version of a TV guide cover. Now, it's just that wasn't enough. I did a version where added these right here. I added shurikens. And I was too chicken to paste them on, so I just kind of did a version where I did stick them on temporarily and took them off for the final. Isn't that cool? That was the final design thing right there. I needed something to really give it that final design kick. So that's what I ended up doing for that. So these are cut out with paper and just pasted in. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So there you go, guys. You are officially off the clock. And so am I. Okay. Does that do you for right now? Is there anything we forgot, Mr. Producer, after all this time to mention to these dudes? We need more money for these guys. We're going for 40. We've only got 12. Kick it up.
18.
We've got 18, right?
Almost at 20, so almost halfway.
Almost 20? Okay, so we're almost at halfway. All right. Who's got a lot of money out there? We need a millionaire. How about a couple millionaires just taking care of it and getting it over with? That'll take the rest of us normal guys off the hook. Any last words before I sign off in German here? Okay, then auf Wiedersehen, ciao, sayonara, arrivederci. I think that's all there is. And I guess that's it. I'm just going to sign off. I'm tired as hell. Okay. I hope I did you guys some good today, answered a few questions. There'll be more to come next week. Let's see if we can answer some more next time. Take care. Looking forward to your comments. Work hard. Get what you want in life. That's what life is for. We'll see you next time.